Everybody's talking about automating your bookings, but nobody's talking about qualifying your leads. So let's take a look at what our customers go through for the automated booking process. So here's a diagram that I put together for the client journey that goes all the way up here in the corner from contact or commenting to our Instagram, all the way through our follow-up process. And this is a lot of steps. And this isn't steps that I make people go through. This is just the steps of the process, from getting to the consultation form, to getting to the consent form, to having a follow-up, and even an ask for a review. All right, let me go ahead and just jump in here to this other video for a second. I recorded this long monologue. It was awesome. But I realize I can get a lot more granular on this for you guys, so I'm going to take a minute and do that. If some of this repeats in the video further on down the line, sorry about that, but I think this is going to give you a better idea of what's going on. So the first thing I had to do was figure out my client journey, all the way from when they've shown interest. Let me get this a little bit bigger. To when they've sent their Zoom form in. For me, I do a Zoom form, right? I want the people to come to a Zoom meeting, so that's just what it's called. Same as consultation form. I also have a different consultation form that's for my wanna-dos. It has its own workflows, its own pricing, its own calendars, everything. Then we set up the consultation. Or actually, that consultation would already be set up, so all I have to do is show up. We need to know what's going to happen if the appointment's canceled. We have the Zoom consultation, or just consultation. On mine, it's called Zoom everywhere. On everybody else's, you can just call it consultation. Once we've had that consultation, I approve or deny or schedule a further meeting, right? Generally, I'm just approving stuff and asking if they want a second meeting. Then we set the second consult. Maybe that's in person, maybe that's at the shop, maybe that's a phone interview, or artwork review later on. But we set that up. At this, if I'm gonna approve the project, then at my consultation, I send the link to my calendar and we pick a date together on their phone. The calendar displays my deposit rules, my cancellation rules, my artwork policy, all of that stuff. So they already have that information. That information also goes into their confirmation email. So at this point, they're still in your chair, or they're still at your shop. They've booked their appointment and they paid their deposit, or maybe they got denied. We set the appointment. We trigger the reminders. You're going to have to decide how many reminders you want to send people and at what intervals. Then on tattoo day, we figure out what to do from there. So in my instance, there's a show, no show button. Did the person show up or not show up? If they did not show up, then we send them a polite letter informing them that they did not show up, it burnt their deposit, and here's a link to book again. This also triggers a workflow that will only let them do this 3 times, and then it bars them from contacting us. If they do show up, then we're going to, of course, send consent. We're going to want to follow up with those people. And eventually, after we're done talking about this tattoo, we are going to still want to stay in touch with them on a regular basis, even if it's very sporadic. What this looks like on the very front end for this website is a nice big button in the corner. Schedule a live consult, done over Zoom from your place. I'm going to show you what that calendar looks like in a minute. At the tattoo shop, it's a little bit more subtle. It just says appointments over here. When somebody comes and clicks it at the tattoo shop, instead of going straight to a form, they go to a landing page. And the first thing on this landing page is a PDF we put together called How to Get a Great Tattoo. And it's just all of our work and people that have come to work with us. And it kind of outlines, the type of work that we do. It also gives the opportunity to check for short-term availability. So this button is a big call out That's where the consultation form is, and in the text messages that we send, if that's how we do it, that's how we get it to them. Then we have some social proof. Then we have a map, right? On our form, let's see. Did I not insert it? Blow this up. On our form, it will say, this form will send your projects to all artists taking new projects this week. From your phone to all artists in 5 minutes. Available for the next 5 days of booking only. Space always limited, first come, first serve. Walk-in tattoo consultation. If you have a specific artist that you want to work with, please use that artist form on their page. Click here to browse the artist. That's one last off-ramp to get off before you fill out the walk-in form. In the walk-in form, of course, we have a spot for first available, so that can get routed to everybody. Says right here, we don't work with minors. Now, of course, sometimes people will call and squeeze through. The laws in our state are pretty lax for that, but I like to put it right up front so we just don't have to deal with it. First name, last name, email, consult, tattoo description, budget, reference photos, and agree to terms and conditions. And so that's this first discovery phase, right? How to get to the form and then send the form off, either to an artist directly or to the first available walk-in consultation form. So now when we get into this, this looks like a lot, but I'm going to walk you through it real quick. So we have our consultation form. Presumably somebody's already gotten from Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever. All of those pages say link in bio. That link goes to a links page that has a link right at the top for our consultation form. We're going to call this discovery, right? So whether they find you through Instagram, your website, Google, SEO, social media, blogging, marketing, posters, affiliates, referrals, whatever you're using, first impressions matter here. This is what we're going to put most of our energy into, right? This is where your brand, tone, visuals, and curation hook them. So this is where like you've displayed your work and they're stepping in to see about working with you, right? So they've now discovered you. In our case, we always recommend people as much as possible to choose an artist directly. My studio is called Montana Tattoo Company, if I haven't said that yet. And so each artist does something pretty different. So it's not like necessarily interchangeable, and not every artist is doing walk-ins. So like if a person wants to get served by a specific artist this weekend, that might not be possible. So there needs to be a few options, and we definitely have an option for first available. We'll get to that in just a second. So all of our artist forms are readily available on our website. If they don't select an artist and they just fill out our form, instead of instant booking, clients fill out this consultation form. It filters for intent and alignment, starting the experience with respect and structure. In our case, if you fill out your consultation form for first available, from here it's going to shoot it to all the artists, and so that's what we're looking at here at this juncture. One of the artists is going to say, yeah, that's for me, and it's going to assign that artist to that client. The other artists are not going to be able to take it away or see the messaging after that. And at this point, that's when the artist has already made a decision. So I guess, yeah, these two steps might be backed up because it would go out to everybody first. One artist is going to make a decision. You see what I'm doing here. Now, if none of the artists want it, you're going to go down and you're going to get a denial letter. If somebody gets through the consultation and then the artist decides they don't want it, that's also going to get a denial letter. Your denial letter is an opportunity to sell the client on something, right? Send them back to the work that you want to do. Send them back to your shop. Send them to your friend down the street. Hook them up. Give them the, crown service on their way out, right? Whatever you would want to do, I think that in this day and age, just ignoring people forever is kind of out. We try to let people know right away if nobody's into it so they can continue on their journey. Not everybody's happy about that, but that's the way that it works when you're trying to qualify your leads or qualify your clients so that they're in alignment with exactly what you want to do. And then we also put them into outreach. So when we're doing event invites, newsletters, wanna-dos, marketing, and ad campaigns, we have their contact info now because we've already done this form. So we can send stuff out to them directly, and we can also invite them out, invite them to meet an artist, any kind of situation like that. We can use that contact info for a lookalike audience in our ad campaigns also. So then so now the artist has made a decision, right? All of this other stuff has happened. And all that's happened on the artist's end is they got a text and said, yep, I want it. Or nobody said, yep, I want it. And then it really takes about 3 days to get to the denial letter. Each day, that same client inquiry will go out to all the artists until somebody takes it, or until it's been like a week. 3 days to a week, I think I have it set up. And then the client gets informed, and by that point, if somebody's really intensely looking for a right now tattoo, then they have probably already found it. But in this instance, we're able to let them know, hey, you're going to get a better response if you contact one of the artists directly. That's what we want you to do. That's what we told you in the first place. We went and we sent it to everybody as a who wants to do it. Nobody jumped on it. Find the artist whose work you like, come in for a consultation, and we just spell that out, right? And then so once the artist decides yes, the client gets a consultation link. You can have the consultation in person, of course, over Zoom, over the phone, at lunch. You can do whatever you want here. So they're going to set that. You're going to send them the link. They're going to choose the day and time. It's going to be within your aligned times to do consultations. And then on consultation day, you're going to decide, do I want to do this or not? If you don't want to do this, they're going to get a denial letter, right? And this can be your denial letter if you want, or it can be the shop's or whatever. So the way we have it set up is that this would come from the artist, this one would come from the shop. If all that's gone good and the artist is going to do the tattoo, then the artist sends the client the booking link. The booking link has all of the, it has a calendar. Let's go ahead and take a look at our booking link. So, Montana Tattoo Company. We'll go to my account. So what you'll notice here is that in my settings for my calendar, it just says this will book a full day with Mickey Schlick, custom values deposit policy, right? But if we go take a look at this calendar, nope, we didn't need to troubleshoot it. That was my fault. And we copy this and we take a look up here. No. And then we put this right up here, and we're going to come to my direct link to book, right? And so this calendar is not live yet. I'm just setting up this account so that I can have an end user account like everybody else. I'm going to use the shop as a pass through. So it'll say the total amount for a full day booking is $12.50. Pay now $2.50. So this will book a full day with Mickey Schlick. Your spot is locked in with a $250 retainer for full day sessions, or $125 for anything shorter. This deposit applies straight to your final bill, covers my prep time, and holds your place in the calendar, and is otherwise non-refundable. Need to shift things around? No sweat. Reschedule up to 72 hours before your date and your deposit stays intact. Just don't expect it back in cash. Artwork will be discussed at the beginning of the appointment. Most commonly, I will have line drawings and photo reference for each subject matter, and we will use as much time as needed to make sure we're on the same page with style, subject, fit, flow, placement, and every other metric. We can talk about designs and plans over Zoom, but I do not send completed artwork ahead of time. A, that's bad tattoo business, and B, you are going to be my completed artwork. If you like my other work, it'll look similar or better than that, and similar to or better than that. And what I want to point out here is that, again, all I put in here is this, right? This custom values deposit policy with the double curly brackets or whatever it is. I wrote that policy one place. This is the shortcut to that place. On your end as the builder, it'll look like this. On the user's end, it looks like all of this. So I can use that same short code, it's called, for emails, text messages, whatever, and it's going to say the exact same thing every time. So when you write it, just write it in a conversational way and make sure you're talking, act like you're talking to one person direct. Now, what you'll notice here is that when we pick a date and we say we're going to do it, and we select it, that's going to come through and give us a form and give us a chance to pay, right? So when this form gets filled out, that triggers another workflow. So there's now a text message conversation that's going to happen, because obviously you can see this is not necessarily like going to tell us a lot of information. I have to take this off as well. But what it'll do is this will collect all the information so we have what we need for marketing. Then in 5 minutes, my system will send a text message to them that's like, hey man, I saw your thing come through. Can you tell me a bit about your project? And it asks questions in a way that get the answers so we can pull them at the right place, or put them in the right place at the right time. And let's go ahead and take a minute to look at this workflow. So this is my Zoom workflow. So when somebody signs up, I have them go to the calendar, and then the form connected to the calendar triggers this workflow. It gets assigned to me. We wait for 5 minutes, so it's not like super fast. I think maybe I have it set to 7 minutes. And then I send an opener, and my opener is, hey, it's Mickey from Unorthodox Tattoo. I think I'm going to take this part out. I saw you booked a Zoom call. Can I ask you a couple of questions so that I can be better prepared? Just tell me yes when you're ready. When you're ready. Boom. And that's how easy it is to change something if you need. Wait for the reply to the opener. And then we're going to make sure that if they say no, we end everything. If they don't do anything, we eventually push them to the same place as if they said yes. It's just a longer wait. If they don't say no, if it's not negative or no, then we also move them forward. Then we say, awesome, let's start with location. What city are you out of? And we haven't taken their address or anything like that, so this just lets us kind of like know if they're traveling from out of town or what's going on with them. if they're local, if they're going to need. I'm only doing Zoom consultations, but sometimes people are in town and want to come by, and so it's good to know that. It's also good to set up, we're asking you this specific information in a specific order so that you don't put everything in the first text box, right? And so we're going to then wait for that reply. Once they reply, we're going to update the contact field for their city. And we're going to put the message body in there, like what the client wrote back. Then we're going to say, cool, where are you thinking of putting this piece and how big are you thinking? I ask this first because I always design around the placement and positioning so that the fit and flow works with your body. And then we do the same thing. So this is one little branch and we copy it every time, right? So then we go to the next thing. We ask them what style they want. Then we ask them what's the description of the actual tattoo. Then we ask if they have other constraints like budget or timing. Then we send them the finisher that is, okay, sweet. I think that's enough for me to put together for some ideas to talk about at our meeting. I'll see you there. Appointment start time and then the Zoom link. We put these Zoom links into custom values, whether it's a Zoom link or whether it is, this is my deposit policy. Put it here. That way, if you ever need to update it, it updates everywhere that you're using this short key. Then I send myself a notification. I set event start time to the appointment time. I wait until 10 minutes before the event. And then I send myself a text that says, consultation happening in 10 minutes with this person. This is the tattoo description. This is the size, placement. This is the budget. These are the reference photos. Everything. It tells me everything I need to know to have the conversation and know what I'm doing moving forward. So let's go back over here to this flow chart. So that's, getting through the consultation booking. Then I send them another booking link that's just like that. Oh, no, we've sent them the booking link. So that's where it takes the deposit. It lets them know the drawing policy, the showing the artwork policy. It's everything all in one. And every time you copy that calendar, if you say you want to do half days or say you want to do 2-hour slots or hourly slots or whatever you want to do, once you make that first calendar, as you copy that over, you're going to have all the work's already done. So that's like the magic of this, is taking the time to kind of understand it in the very, very beginning before you get like too deep into it, and then doing things in a way that's systematized and repeatable so that you don't have to spend your time coming up with new copy for every calendar you make. So they're going to set the appointment at that point. Then they're going to get some reminders. And I send out, it depends how far out I'm booked. A lot of times it'll be like a week and then 3 days and then 90 minutes. My 3-day and 72-hour and 90-minute appointment reminders are both links to my website with videos about how to prepare. So the one thing that I do need to do is like stop sending all that shit to people who have multiple, like a lot of appointments with me, so they're not getting it all the time. And then like that last one, how to prep. So maybe you do a certain type of work and you want your clients to lube up, and you want them to lotion for a couple of days or come shaved or wax or whatever your thing is. My big thing is asking people not to show up early. And so I put it in a video one time. I was very conversational and nice about it. I've never gotten annoyed about it since. It's pretty great. Then, of course, you have to show up for tattoo day. On tattoo day, I am going to get a text message that says, did they show up or did they not show up? If they did not show up, they're going to get, we'll go over that later in the video. I know I covered that part. If they did show up, then they're going to get their consent form, and that's going to also trigger a next day message that has a follow-up and aftercare and says, if you need to book, just let me know. that means they're going to write a message. And when you get that message, then you can just send them your link to book. And you can also make that as like one of the short codes or as a snippet for texting. And it works pretty well to save up your free time and like, I think have better connections with my clients because I can send them all standardized information for the basic information. I don't have to like think about it. And for everything else, I can slow down and talk to them and handle whatever they need. Then I do a 1 month follow-up. I generally do 21 days. I don't have to remember this. It just fires 21 days after this next day message. Ask how everything is and if you can get a picture. And then depending on what they say there, we're going to ask them to come in for a regular picture, a nice picture, a follow-up, and potentially a review. So this is how I do it. This is how we get all the way from point A to point B so that you understand what I'm talking about kind of in the rest of this video. But I wanted to open this up and show it to you in a little bit more granular way. And here's the thing, right? This is the important part to remember. These parts, these 3 red diamonds, that's where the artist has to be involved and worry about it. And anytime a client that's assigned to them texts the shop or texts them, right? That's who they're trying to get the answer from. Why feed it through a third party when it can just go directly to that person and that person can have it in their messages, whether it's an email, a text, a DM, whatever it is, right? So like a way more direct connection with the artist to the client, between the artist and the client, than was ever really available before, because you had to stop and deal with things and you're tattooing and you guys know the drill. So that's how it looks. That's how I set it up. And then everything else comes down to like qualifying your clients. So let's take a look at qualifying. Qualifying is going to happen in a few different places. Generally, that's going to be on your web page, right? So you're the artist page saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do, this is how I like to work. And those artists and those clients saying, okay, I'm in. Or they just see the work and they try to sign up and they haven't read anything. So what we can do is make it so our forms, let me get over there. This is a good one. Now we're going to make a new one for him as in a survey form, but this is great for demonstration. So on his form, it says, these are my preferred styles. Check this box to say, I understand that James is mainly working on his own style and prefers clean and smooth black and gray style as seen in his portfolio. Preference is given to larger work, but if it's clean and fills the space, then there's definitely room to talk. So if a person doesn't want that type of work, don't click that button and they're out, and you'll never know that they existed, and it'll never matter to you, right? Then you have deferred styles, and they have to also say, I understand that he prefers to stay away from tattoos which are geometric, full color realism, small line art, and any copies of any other tattoo or artwork. And they have to agree to that. They have to talk about size, placement, budget. All of these are required. Now, what he wants in his form going forward, he wants to see 2 pictures of his own work that they like. And I think this is a great idea for making sure people are in alignment with the stuff that you want to do. If you have a page that's like my top 10 and you send it to them, or you send that to them as part of a form and you say pick 2 images, and they pick whatever 2, then at least you're building on the structure and the platform and the foundation that you've already built up for yourself. So what you need to do is figure out, hey, what's all the stuff that I need in for me to say yes? And what are all the things that the person needs to know to understand that they're going to get a no, right? So that they can't get to that point anyway. Therefore, I never have to give anybody a no, because they're all already aware of what you want to do and how you work and what everything is, and they're all good for it. You can also put stuff like this on your web page. You can have a conversation back and forth. But qualifying leads is like putting the brakes on it, right? You're sending people to your website. It's very easy to book. We want to make it super easy for people to book. They get to this part where they're filling out the form and they have to agree to something they don't want to agree to, and then they're just like, oh, not for me. So he gets a ton of people that are just in alignment with his stuff, and he keeps it that way by being really strict about it. And he's not really strict. He's a super nice, friendly guy, but even more so, like, you don't want to get into 80% of your consultations and be like, no, man, sorry. You want that to be rare. You want that when everybody comes, you already have all the information. You already know all the stuff. You don't need to have a deep conversation about your needs as an artist. You can have a deep conversation about their needs as the client, right? And I think that's a much better way to go about this. You'll notice here that there's 3 diamonds, and those 3 diamonds are where the artist needs to make a decision, right? So the artist, or where the artist needs to show up. So the artist is going to show up on once the consultation form has come in and they need to make a decision if they want to do the job or not. Then they have to have an in-person consultation if that's what their workflow is. Then if they're going to do the tattoo, they have to show up for the tattoo. All the rest of this stuff is automated. What we're trying to do is make it so that you're in touch with your clients at the most important parts and you have the most energy for the most important parts. All the other time, if there's a question that your client has that you've already answered, just let them get the answer, and it's going to probably be a better customer service than you could muster at an odd time of the day. So when we're talking about automating your bookings, that's like putting the gas on, right? You're making a slip and slide from wherever your client finds you into your appointment book. Now, some of us, we don't want them in our appointment book like that. And so we're going to want a form and a consultation, and we want to know what's happening before those people get to our actual tattoo or service appointments, whatever field you're in. So now let's talk about qualifying clients. What this means, this is the brakes to the automation's gas, right? You want the steps along the way to trigger your clients to get off the bus. If you're a high-end person and your clients need a minimum of $2,000 to deal with you, you're going to want them to know that information before they get into your appointment calendar, before they get into your consultation calendar. But you might want their information. And you definitely want to make a connection and a good impression with those people later on, but you want to get them that information so that they can make the appropriate choices for themselves, and so that your time is not wasted with tire kickers or people asking, what's the price? If you don't want people to ask you what's the price, have transparent pricing. One thing I'm starting to employ at the shop is everybody that I've been building sites for, we're putting up pictures of, hey, here's what a 4-hour session looks like. Here's what a full day session looks like. Here's what a 3-day session looks like. And I'm this much money a day. So at least if you're putting a higher price tag on things, which hopefully you should be, those clients are kind of also understanding what they're going to expect to walk away with. That can vary widely between artists, styles, and subject matters. So feel free to have a whole page that shows examples so that you can send people to those examples when they're asking you questions, or so that your chatbot can send people to those examples when they're asking it questions. Then you can handle all the tough questions in the most professional way without having to get anxious or nervous or stopping your session to do it. So in terms of qualifying people, first thing you want to do is have good definitions and boundaries about the work that you want to do, and you want to make that known to people. You can also employ things like, or asking people which of your work they want their work to look like. You could even have a page with your 10 favorite pieces and say, hey, pick your favorite 2 of these, and I'm going to make it like that. And now people are getting your work all the time because you're being clear about what you want out of the situation. Always remember, this is not to say that we don't want you to be able to take a walk-in or a smaller project that you want. You can always talk to those people and you can always say yes. We just want to make sure that your marketing and your energy is going to the thing that's the most profitable for you, not to mention the most enjoyable, right? Then, as far as automating your booking goes, what you really need to do is figure out every step of your client journey. When you set up your client journey, you put that into a pipeline and you log all the steps of the pipeline, and then your workflows, when people are at one step of a pipeline, you can slide them to the next one, right? So say, for instance, a person calls and the phone doesn't answer. So the workflow kicks in, sends them a text that says, hey, sorry we couldn't answer the phone. Here's our artist pages, or here's my work, right? Then once the person lands on that page, there's a nice, clear, easy button that says, here's how to book. Those people click that button, bam, they're in your calendar. Or they're at your form, depending on how you want to do business, right? I've done it for years where you had to fill out a form. And now I let people book a Zoom consultation because the Zoom is like a little bit too much for some people. And like, if that's too much, it's probably going to be a hassle all the way through. Um, Also, it allows me to show up and talk to people. The Zoom takes the notes for me, and I don't have to do anything. I can share my screen and I can be present in the conversation. I can draw, I can search. It makes things way easier for me. So I let people go straight to my Zoom calendar. My Zoom calendar is only available 4 hours from now until 10 days from now. So people can't book a consultation in the random middle of a Saturday 3 months from now. It's a very short window and very direct, like, hey, I want to talk to you about your tattoo. If you want to talk today, cool. I've designed a conversation. Now, understand that an AI chatbot is different than conversation design. Conversation design means I'm asking you a question and triggering an answer, and then based on your answer, I'm going to send you the next question. So this can feel impersonal when you're setting it up. The way that I think about it is this. I've already experienced and conceived all the issues that we're going to run into on your way through this. And this is to my tattoo clients, right? I'm asking you the questions that need to be asked at the time. I'm making the information available to you at the proper time. And I'm asking the questions in a way that makes you put in the information where it's supposed to go. And what do I mean by that? So if you ask a person's name and information and then ask what they want, they're going to give you a long text box of what they want. And a lot of times, in my experience, it's kind of hard to get through all the information and know what's what and where's where and dissect it all. So what we do is we set up a series of questions that are controlled. It starts with, where are you from? Where are you thinking of putting this tattoo? How big were you thinking of doing this tattoo? What is your budget? Okay, what's the subject matter? And so we let them go wild on the subject matter, but it's at the very end. So all the information gets to the right place so that when we're sending that information along to the artist, or when you're sending that information along to yourself, you get it in a form, whether you want it on email or you want it on text or you want a message or however you want it. And you're seeing all the information that you need to, from the client's description to their placement to the photos that they attach to it. Then that client's also getting assigned to you so that they're coming up in your messaging. You say yes, no, or maybe. I set mine up as a yes, no, or maybe. Yes means yes, let's go on and book it. Come in as soon as you want. Here's my appointment calendar. No means sorry, I'm not interested, but here's the stuff that I am interested in. We're always trying to resell people into what we do want to do, even if we do have to turn them down or bring them back to the shop, right? Or give them a good recommendation if that's what you want to do. But I don't see a problem in telling people, hey man, this is the work I really love to do. I'd really love to work with you. This piece is not for me. It might be the most professional thing that you can tell people at times. And then I have a maybe situation, and that's like, hey, can you come in for a consultation? Maybe we call it consultation 2. Maybe I want to do a Zoom call, but it sends a message that sets the tone and asks them if that works for them so that you can move forward as easy as possible. Once you're in the consultation, you can say, finally, I either do or I don't want to do this. If you would like to not deal with that in front of the client, you can say, okay, I'll let you know in a couple hours and I'll send a message, and you send a denial, and in a couple hours, that message will send and they'll get it, and there you go. Or right while you're sitting there with them, you say, cool, man, this is awesome. Let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to send you my calendar link to book now. You need a full day session or a half day or a 2 hour or whatever, however you're working. You set up the calendar to take the deposit. You set up the calendar to display the deposit policy. So you say, hey, here's my deposit policy is X and my drawing policy is Y. And this deposit is not actually a deposit, it's a retainer, and is either coming back or not coming back, or whatever your studio or business's values are, situation is. and you have your policies all set up so that it's on every document for people to see every time. So now they've paid their deposit, they've booked on the calendar. Once they book in the calendar, it triggers a workflow that will send them reminders. So it gets them off of the other workflows. And 2 weeks out of their tattoo, or 1 week, or whatever you deem appropriate, it sends a reminder that's like, hey, just making sure we're still on. You can ask for a confirmation if you want. 3 days out of the appointment, it gives them another message. I send a link to a page where I have a video set up. That way, if I change the video, the link can stay the same and the message and workflow can stay the same. And that message says, hey, we charge a little bit for our credit card processing. If you'd like to bring cash, we totally recommend that. And here's what you need to know going into the morning of your tattoo. Then I send a 90-minute reminder that says, hey, you got a tattoo today. I just wanted you to know. In my case, I hate to say it, but I say, please don't come early. It makes me anxious, and I'm usually working on one project to the next project to the next project. I'm very goal oriented. And if somebody comes and makes me stop one to go to the other early, it frazzles me. And so I ask people not to do that. And ever since I started or sent them the video that said, hey man, that's my one big request. I'm usually pretty cool the whole time. Especially once we get tattooing. Sometimes I'm a little bit short in the drawing and figuring things out process, because I don't want to give a ton of feedback. I want to hear what they're saying more. And sometimes you don't know how to approach what they're saying. So it kind of goes that way, but I really loosen up throughout the day. I usually have one day that I spend with each person. I get to spend a long time with people. And so letting people know that has really cut down on the stress on my end. And now I know that when somebody shows up early, that means that I booked them and I didn't put them through the workflow. Or I didn't make them book and pay a deposit the normal way, so they didn't get the messages that they were supposed to get. And that's my fault. But using the whole system together, it's going to allow you to do the financial end. It's going to allow you to tell them to bring cash. It's going to allow you to get everything done all the way down. On the day of the tattoo, I get a text that says, hey, did this person show up or not? If I click the button that says they didn't show up, it waits for 45 minutes, sends them a message that says, hey, I'm sorry you missed your appointment today. You've lost your deposit. And, please contact us if you want to book further. It also sends it through a further workflow that counts how many times this has been done. And once it's been done 3 times, then the client no longer is barred from contacting the shop. So they have to come into the shop physically to talk to us to get me to unlock it. And we don't need to have any ill will. We don't need to have any harsh attitudes or anything like that. It's just a matter of fact business. Hey man, sorry you lost your deposit. See you on the next one. And that's that. If the person showed up, click the button, they get a link that goes to our consent form. It's actually a survey. So it's a survey is a multi-step form. Same thing as a form, but it's multi-step, and it can have conditional logic. What that means is, if the person says, I am 18, they move to page 3. If on page 1, the person says, I am 18, they move to page 3 and continue. If they do not say that they're 18, they go to page 2, which is the guardianship signature, right? If on page 7, they say they're pregnant, then page 8 pops up and tells them, hey, this is a bad idea to do it if you're pregnant, and this is what you're risking, and this is what's going on. It educates them. It's all set up to happen based on their input and be there ready for them, right? Like I said, this is about making better connections with people, not taking yourself out of the equation. From there, when I put in, after about 45 minutes after the consent form gets turned in, they get a text message that tells them, hey man, it's me. This part always weirds me out, but I want you to turn and ask me to name this piece. I name the piece, and then I tell them, hey, find me on Instagram, click my little QR code that has my Instagram on it, and send me what I told you. This will allow me to collaborate with my clients as time goes on down the line. So when I finally get off my ass and I get into CapCut and I make a little video and I collaborate, I can just search for the name of the piece in my chats, find the person I'm supposed to collaborate with, presto changeo, I'm in front of all your friends. Once the tattoo is complete, once the paperwork's in, we know the tattoo's happening. Once all of that's done and the tattoo's complete, the next day they get a text message that says, "Hey, I just wanted to check in and see how that was going. I wanted to also send you the link to my aftercare in case you might need it. How's it looking?" And then you get a feedback from them. And then in 3 weeks, you either answer it if you need to. You normally just be like, "Yeah, that's dope, man. Great. I'll see you in a few weeks." Then you send another one in 3 weeks that says, "Hey, that should be healed by now. Can I see a picture and see how it's doing? And if there's anything for us to address, here's my follow-up or a link to a next session." Or better yet, what you do is you just ask a question at the end, right? It's a call to action. You say, "Let me know when you're ready to book another," or "These are my dates. Can I interest you in one?" Or something that causes a reply that's a yes, no, or maybe, and then can continue the process. Even if it's going from your scheduling, sending the message out to the person's answering the message and you're seeing it and saying, "Oh, that's what they're replying to. Cool. This is how we move forward." You don't have to do any of the other stuff. You don't have to set a reminder to text this person in 3 weeks. You don't have to remember every person you tattooed all the time to give every person great customer service. So that's what I'm here to help everybody with and set up. And that's the process I use. I do this through using multiple workflows in conjunctions with my opportunities and pipelines in Bulb Booking IO software so that I can keep track of everything and not get bogged down, confused, or lose information. And most importantly, so I can get back to the fun stuff.